want to bring in Weijia Jiang now. She is following what's going on at the White House. Good morning, Weijia. So listen, Weijia, President Biden is meeting with G20 leaders right now to discuss Afghanistan. What do we expect to come out of this meeting?
So there's a looming humanitarian crisis in Afghanistan, right? And part of that is because it's unclear how the international community is going to recognize the Taliban since it has taken over, and whether it will offer the legitimacy that the Taliban seeks. And so they will talk about the crisis. They will talk about that. They will talk about, the Taliban's request to unfreeze Afghanistan's assets right now that are largely controlled by the U.S. and the UK, something that China has actually pushed for. And this is a real opportunity for the leaders to talk before they meet in person at the end of the month to start that conversation about how to move forward. Of course, another big concern is security, because there are still foreign nationals in Afghanistan. There are still Americans who are trying to leave, and the Taliban has granted or said that they would allow them to move freely. And so there's a lot to talk about today, and that's why the Prime Minister of Italy, who is hosting this year's G20 summit, is holding this virtual summit ahead of it.
All right, Weijia, let me ask you about something completely different. The Biden administration is pushing back against Texas's controversial abortion law. As you know, the Justice Department filed a response with the appeals court last night. What did that filing say, and what are they asking for?
So basically, you'll remember Texas issued one of the most restrictive laws in the land when it comes to abortion, basically banning them anytime there's cardiac activity around 6 weeks, which a lot of advocates say is earlier than when many women even know that they are pregnant medically. And so a lower court challenged this, and the judge there issued a blistering opinion and halted that rule. But then Texas appealed it and requested that in the meantime, as that plays out, that the law be able to go back into effect. And a circuit court agreed with Texas, and that's why it reinstated the law while that initial case continues to play out as Texas challenges it. So the Department of Justice did weigh in to say that it hopes that it will halt the law once again as it plays out in court, calling it unconstitutional, saying it will set a dangerous precedent. But really, the DOJ here does not have anything actionable it can do. It is up to Texas's circuit court. And so even though the Department of Justice and the administration has made its position clear, again, this is not something that they can intervene and change. So as it stands now, women who are pregnant and a cardiac activity is detected, technically, lawfully, they cannot get an abortion in Texas.
There may be multiple court battles in Texas because now we're learning that Texas Governor Greg Abbott issued an executive order yesterday banning, quote, any entity, including private businesses, from enforcing vaccine mandates. So last month, of course, you remember, we've been talking about this, President Biden announced that the government would mandate employers with 100 or more employees to require them to get vaccinated. And, in regards to Governor Abbott's executive order, it's not just about employees, it's also about customers. That, a company or a venue cannot ask you whether or not you've been vaccinated, or perhaps to show proof of vaccination before you go to a concert or any of that stuff. That's not allowed under this executive order. So, where do things stand with the president's mandate that he wanted? What's going on with OSHA? Can Governor Abbott essentially override whatever President Biden wants to institute?
So the way that you averted this question is correct, Anne-Marie, but it also reveals the problem. The president wants to implement this federal vaccine mandate. He announced it several weeks ago. But what did not come along with the announcement was an actual rule that the Department of Labor and OSHA is still in the process of developing. So without that rule, without that mechanism, businesses are not bound to do anything at this point. And we continue to press the administration about what's taking so long. Of course, as you can imagine, it's a lot of paperwork. It's a lot of, checks that they need to do to make sure they have legal ground. But then it begs the question, why wasn't this done already? If this was a possibility that it was going to come and the president might issue a federal vaccine mandate, why wasn't all of the work done beforehand? Because now here we are with a lot of businesses saying that they're waiting for that cover to implement any sort of vaccine mandate, because they want to be able to say it's actually the federal law. We have to do this. And right now they can't say that. And so to your question, Anne-Marie, Governor Abbott doesn't have to override anything, because right now we're still in a holding pattern when it comes to that federal rule. To be clear, he's not saying that vaccine mandates should be banned or are banned in the state of Texas. He's saying that businesses cannot be compelled to do that, even if they have 100 or more employees, which is what the White House has laid out. And so it's just like with masks in schools. He banned mask mandates. That means that the masks are still optional for students based on what their parents want them to do. It's just that the school cannot force it upon the kids to do that. But as we have seen in Texas, a lot of those school districts have pushed back and required masks anyway. So I think this is a case where individual businesses are going to have to make their own decisions and probably end up in court.
All right, we'll see what happens. Weijia Jiang, always, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Sure. Thanks.